G'day folks. Oh God, it's been a while. It's been a couple of weeks since I put one up last. I've been real busy with work. I've taken on a couple of reasonable jobs and it's been really taken up all my time with the car, but I have managed to do a little bit to it. I've got that ignition coil in, guys, and I've had it running. I've actually had a bit of a noise in it, and for the life of me, it's taken me a few days to figure out what it is. I've had a couple of little issues. I've had a leak in my header pipe on these two underneath. We've blown a gasket on that, and it had this little chaffing sound because it's not the easiest to hear because it's quite noisy, this thing now, with no muffler on it. But it turns out that it was actually, I'll show you this before I get too carried away. There's a couple of different style header or gaskets that I've used, and I actually have a lot of success with this one, but I can't seem to get these anymore. These are a ProFlow. They're sort of a cheap bloody Chinese thing, but they're blowing out, well, this is an old one, and what it's doing, it's blowing the material out between the two of them, especially on the lower ones here because there's not much of them. So I'm not having much, huge luck. Like, I get a bit of life out of it, but then over time they just seem to just sort of work in there because it's quite thin through there. But anyway, not all's lost. I've got another new one in, and I know to swap them out every so often if I do hear a little chuffing sound. But these ones here were great. They were lasting, for ages on them. But these ones here, they think, because they're a bit sort of more oval shape. I don't know if what the go is with them, but these are probably more matched, whereas these are a bit of an overkill. And unfortunately, they're not the best. But if any of you guys can point me in the right direction for one that's a little bit nicer and a little bit more, can stand up to a bit more pressure inside, hence the turbo, point me in the right direction. Well, I had this little ticking sound in it, guys, and it was bugging the hell out of me. I thought it was coming from around this area here. I actually had all the valve covers off, and I've checked all the clearances on the rocker gear. I've had all the plugs out, and I've done a compression test on it, which is really nice anyway. It's satisfying. It all comes within spec, a few pound of each other. So very happy there. But this little ticking sound, sort of like every sort of revolution or a random come and go, it was really weird. What it turns out, it's this stupid thing here. It's the alternator. I took the belt off it and ran it 20 minutes ago. Perfect, no noise whatsoever. And put it back on and it started again. So it seems like this, when you spin it, it's got a little bit of funny sort of a sound to it. This is only sort of relatively new. It's another Chinese alternator. It's a 140 amp, which is, that's what I need because of all the extra pumps I'm running. And it really does a good job, but it's got this little funny sound in it at the moment. It's a one wire job, so there's no tell that it's, I've got no warning inside. It's just the one lead to it, which is the power lead or the charge lead. And this is a really heavy, this is an 80 amp, really solid thing it is. My electrician actually gave it to me. It's a stove wire, believe it or not, so it's really good. So, but yeah, it's got a bit of a noise. Thank goodness it's only the alternator, guys. I've got a spare one. It's a 80 or 90 amp. I'll take it with me when I go to the track, just in case. But I'll keep a close eye on it and just see how it sort of fares up. It may be just a normal little sort of funny sound. I can sort of live with it, but if it fails, it fails. I might invest in the nicer, little bit better quality next time. Well, like I said, I've got my coiling, guys. That's the HVC2. So that's the biggest and the baddest one that MSD make for the 6 series ignition box. And I'm on a sort of a forum for the blow-through mob on Facebook, and a lot of guys run this, have great success with big boost. So let's hope that we can ignite the E85 up top, guys, because that's a lot of the trouble I was having. I had the little cheap SS, which I'll show you. This little one here was the one that I had in it. Little SS blaster, I don't know, I think it's no better than a bloody little coil, like a oil-filled one. But anyway, mind you, the new one's 1.6 kilos, so it's quite a heavy unit. So I'm always mindful of adding extra weight, guys, but that's all right. As long as it can do the job and fire the ethanol up top, I'll be a happy camper. And I've got my new leads in there too. So they're 100 ohms per 1 metre. That's amazing, really, because, you know, not a lot of resistance over that length, considering that the leads I had, guys, was up around 2,000 ohms so of resistance. So hopefully now my electrical, or lack of it, to my spark, to my plugs, is a thing of the past. Because I know my fueling now is up there. I've got great fueling, maybe a tad rich, mid-range. It'll be very interesting to see now if I can ignite the fuel up top. Fingers crossed, it might clean up the air fuel a little bit up top, which I need to. Then I can address sort of mid-range as we go. But things are very promising now. I did a quick note too, guys, or another note. I checked my crank end float. Now I had 7 thousandths around the start of, well, basically when I put the engine together, not long after I put the engine together, and I just did another check then and it hasn't changed. So that's bloody brilliant news, knowing that my transmission isn't creating any excess thrust on the crank now, because I've got a really good set of cooler lines. I monitor my cooler line pressure, because if you've got a restriction, you obviously get a thrust from the converter trying to push away from the transmission, and you just wipe out the crank. Now they say once you get into drive, and that's my transmission pressure gauge there, the white back-faced one, they say no more than around 50 psi to 60 psi at any given time. And we get a touch over 50, then it drops back. So that's fantastic. They say anything over that and it creates excessive thrust, which, you know, just wipes out that crank. And that's what caused all the issue that I had when I first built this engine up. It destroyed the crank thrust. Very lucky I picked it up, actually. So good lesson learnt there. And look, it seems to be running like a dream at the minute. I'm very, very happy with it, guys. Well, before I go, I've ordered a new starter motor. This one's starting to give me a little bit of... it's starting to play up. I've had it in 5 or 6 years. It was only there you go again, another cheap China thing. But it was only a cheapie. I'm buying one slightly better this time round. And I'll do a little review on that one. And I've got some diff gears coming too, guys. So 3 5s. We've got 3.7 at the minute, so we're dropping back a couple of hundred 0.2. So hopefully that'll pick up me, 2, maybe 300 revs in the rev department and extend my speed a little bit. I don't want to go too tall with it, guys. So I may even have to come down to 3.4 or 3.3, but it's just a small jump. I've got it set for $340 for ring gear and a pinion gear. So that'll be another job I'll have to do. I may do that over Christmas. If I can get November out of the way, we've got a club day on then, and I'll do it over the Christmas break, and or maybe even early January. We'll see. But I'm really keen to have a go at doing this one myself, but I'm not sure on it. I've got to learn it all up, guys, but if I struggle, I can't get it right, well, I'll take it to someone to try and help finish it off. But that'll be a great thing too. I've got another set of plugs on order, so next time I go down, we can do a little bit of fine tuning on the plugs. Like I said, start reading my plugs and learning from that. Oh, look, it's going to be good. I can't wait. So as soon as I've got a private practice day pop up, guys, I'll be back down and we'll see how this all runs now that I've improved on my ignition system. And once that's sort of done and dusted, I'm turning my attention to my little block here, and we're going to start the journey on my little 308 lightweight theme. That's what I'm going to call it, and we'll go from there. All right, folks. Well, I've been busy. Hang in there. I'll start putting vids back up. Once I get these sort of 2 jobs knocked over, I'm having a little bit more time off again. And like I said, I'll keep rolling on with the car, and I wouldn't mind actually doing another big review of the car because, look, since the last 12 months, I've done a crazy amount of work with it, and I'd like to, for ones that are following me and don't fully understand the car and fully understand all the setup, I'd like to do another complete talk about it all too, because there's been a lot of changes and there's a lot of detail that goes into it too. I could go on for days. I just love it. All right, guys, before I go, the missus is going really, really well, which is great news. And it's just fantastic. So it's a really nice feeling at the moment. And we're coming into our spring, so the weather's warming up a little bit, and it's really nice. All right, guys, I'll pop one up very soon. I'll catch you later.